Welcome to Truth Report. Tonight, we expose the shadowed corners where power, profit, and propaganda collide, revealing a landscape far more complex and troubling than official narratives suggest. We're delving deep into a story that peels back the layers of a supposed government crackdown, exposing what truly lies beneath.
We'll uncover how the fight against a rampant criminal enterprise is being weaponized, not against the perpetrators, but against those daring enough to shine a light on the truth. The implications reach far beyond national borders, touching upon international finance, human rights, and the very integrity of global governance.
From the bustling, often chaotic, streets of Southeast Asia, a chilling pattern emerges. Governments claim to dismantle criminal networks, to protect their citizens and international partners, yet their actions often tell a very different story. It's a narrative of selective justice and strategic blindness.
Tonight, we investigate how transparency, the bedrock of a functioning society and a trustworthy financial system, is being systematically eroded. We'll examine the real beneficiaries and the true victims when the lines between legitimate governance and criminal complicity blur.
Join us as we pull back the curtain on these operations, scrutinizing the official statements against the stark reality on the ground. This isn't just about one incident, it's about a global warning, a red flag for anyone concerned about the future of open information and accountability.
Our lead story tonight takes us to Cambodia, a nation grappling with a severe cyber fraud epidemic. But the headlines aren't about successful arrests of masterminds, they're about the troubling detention of a journalist. This incident, reported by the Diplomat, casts a dark shadow on the Cambodian government's declared zero-tolerance campaign against online scam operations.
That's right, Maya. According to the Diplomat, a Cambodian reporter was detained by authorities after he photographed a raid on one of these notorious scam centers. This isn't just a procedural hiccup, it's a direct assault on press freedom and raises serious questions about the authenticity and ultimate goals of the anti-scam crackdown itself.
The reporter in question was covering a crackdown operation in Sihanoukville, an area notoriously associated with these scam centers. He was simply documenting what was happening, an essential role for any journalist. His detention suggests a deliberate effort to control the narrative surrounding these raids, rather than genuinely address the underlying criminality.
Indeed. The official line from Cambodian authorities, as reported, is that this reporter was detained for obstructing the operation or acting without proper authorization. Yet, experienced journalists covering police actions routinely capture images and conduct interviews, which are standard practices of investigative reporting, not obstruction.
This incident isn't isolated. It fits into a broader pattern of suppressing independent reporting in Cambodia, especially concerning sensitive issues that expose corruption or challenge official narratives. It sends a clear message: scrutinize our operations, and you risk your freedom.
And the stakes here are incredibly high. These scam centers aren't just minor operations, they are vast, sophisticated criminal enterprises, often involved in human trafficking, forced labor, and large-scale financial fraud, generating billions in illicit profits, as various international bodies have documented.
To fully grasp the gravity, we need to understand the nature of these scam centers. They are often disguised as legitimate tech or gambling companies but are in reality sophisticated boiler rooms where thousands, frequently trafficked victims, are forced to perpetrate online scams targeting people globally.
The victims working in these centers are coerced, their passports confiscated, and subjected to brutal conditions, essentially modern-day slavery. They are forced to engage in romance scams, crypto investment fraud, and other elaborate schemes, making them both victims and unwilling perpetrators.
And the monetary scale is staggering. Estimates suggest these operations generate billions of dollars annually, flowing through often opaque financial channels, making them a significant component of the global illicit finance ecosystem. This is not petty crime. It's transnational organized crime at its most sophisticated.
The Cambodian government has publicly announced a zero-tolerance policy and launched numerous raids. However, the consistent reports, like the one from the Diplomat, suggest a gaping disconnect between the rhetoric and the reality on the ground, particularly when it comes to transparency and genuine enforcement.
This disconnect becomes even more glaring when we consider the sheer number of these centers and the infrastructure required to support them. They don't operate in secret, they are large compounds, often well known within their localities, implying a level of official awareness, if not complicity.
The detention of a reporter who simply photographs a raid on such a center begs the question: what exactly are authorities trying to hide? Is it inefficiency, corruption, or perhaps the selective nature of these crackdowns that they don't want the public to witness?
It certainly suggests a sensitivity around the optics of these operations. If the crackdown were truly comprehensive and uncompromised, there would be no need to suppress journalistic coverage. In fact, public documentation would bolster their claims of effectiveness.
Instead, we see a chilling effect being imposed on reporting. When journalists are targeted for doing their job, it creates an environment where crimes, especially those with powerful backing, can thrive unchecked, shielded from public scrutiny.
This suppression of information has direct financial consequences too. A lack of transparency makes it incredibly difficult for international bodies, financial institutions, and even legitimate businesses to understand the true risk environment when operating in regions like Cambodia.
So, who truly benefits from this complex web of cyber scams, the crackdowns, and the subsequent suppression of journalistic inquiry? At the top, obviously, are the organized crime syndicates running these scam centers, reaping immense profits from human misery and financial fraud.
But it goes deeper. The sheer scale and persistence of these operations strongly suggest a level of tacit, if not active, complicity from corrupt elements within local and national authorities. This is where the illicit financial flows intersect with governance.
These centers require land, electricity, internet infrastructure, and a constant flow of coerced labor. They often operate in plain sight, implying that they enjoy protection or, at the very least, are allowed to continue operating by paying off officials at various levels. That's a direct benefit for corrupt networks.
The crackdowns themselves can also be beneficial, perversely. They allow governments to project an image of active engagement against crime to the international community, potentially securing aid or avoiding sanctions, while simultaneously controlling which operations are targeted and how they are perceived.
Furthermore, by suppressing reporting on these raids, authorities can carefully curate the narrative. They can exaggerate successes, minimize failures, and obscure any inconvenient truths about the depth of corruption or the true extent of state involvement. This benefits the image and stability of the ruling power structure.
The economy of certain areas, like Sihanoukville, has also become heavily reliant on these illicit operations, directly or indirectly. While the core business is criminal, the presence of thousands of people, even trafficked ones, creates demand for local services, housing, and food, providing a superficial economic boost.
On the losing side, the picture is stark. First and foremost, the countless victims of these scams globally, losing their life savings, their dignity, and their trust in online interactions. These are devastating financial and emotional losses for individuals across continents.
Then there are the trafficked workers trapped in these centers, suffering unimaginable physical and psychological abuse. Their human rights are utterly violated, and their lives are shattered, with little hope for recourse or justice when the authorities are compromised.
The integrity of the Cambodian nation itself loses. Its reputation on the international stage is severely damaged, making it less attractive for legitimate foreign investment and tourism. The perception of a state complicit in organized crime erodes trust and undermines legitimate economic development.
And, critically, press freedom and the public's right to know are significant casualties. When journalists are silenced, the public is deprived of crucial information, fostering an environment where corruption can flourish unchallenged, further entrenching the power of criminal and corrupt state actors.
This creates a dangerous feedback loop. Lack of transparency allows crime to thrive, which further incentivizes the suppression of information, making it even harder to expose and dismantle these networks. It's a systemic failure with profound consequences for democracy and financial accountability.
This incident, as reported by the Diplomat, highlights a critical nexus between transnational organized crime, state complicity, and the global financial system. The detention of a journalist isn't just a local issue, it's a symptom of a larger, more insidious problem affecting power structures globally.
We're seeing how states, under the guise of sovereignty or even crime fighting, can actively enable or turn a blind eye to massive criminal enterprises. This isn't just about individual corrupt officials, it speaks to a systemic failure of governance where the state apparatus is either compromised or actively facilitating illicit activities.
The connections run deep. The funds generated by these scam centers don't stay within Cambodia. They are laundered through international financial systems, often utilizing shell companies, crypto exchanges, and various sophisticated mechanisms to obscure their origins, impacting banks and economies worldwide.
This directly challenges global efforts against money laundering and terror financing. If a state is unwilling or unable to genuinely address these criminal networks, it creates a massive loophole for illicit funds to flow, undermining the integrity of the entire international financial architecture.
Furthermore, the geopolitical implications are significant. Many of these scam operations, and indeed much of the foreign investment in areas like Sihanoukville, are linked to Chinese interests, operators, and victims. This complicates international pressure and cooperation, especially given Cambodia's close ties with Beijing.
The suppression of reporting, like the detention of this journalist, is a tactic used by authoritarian regimes to control narratives that might expose their vulnerabilities, corruption, or complicity. It's a tool for maintaining power, even at the cost of fostering widespread criminality.
This erosion of press freedom isn't merely a human rights issue, it's a financial transparency issue. Without independent journalism, there's no reliable watchdog to scrutinize where money is truly coming from, where it's going, and who is benefiting, making it easier for illicit economies to flourish.
When powerful figures or state entities are implicated in criminal enterprises, the weaponization of the legal system against journalists becomes a predictable, albeit chilling, response. It serves to protect the powerful, not to uphold justice.
This situation underscores the critical need for global financial institutions and regulatory bodies to exert greater pressure on states that are known hubs for such activities. Sanctions and stricter due diligence must be applied to combat these networks and the governments that shield them.
The lack of genuine accountability in these cyber scam operations isn't just a Cambodian problem. It's a blueprint for how transnational crime can embed itself within state structures, leveraging weak governance and authoritarian tendencies to perpetuate massive fraud and human rights abuses on a global scale. What we uncover here in Cambodia, the reported detention of a journalist for simply documenting a raid on a scam center, is far more than an isolated incident. It's a glaring symptom of a profound systemic pathology that has global implications for finance, governance, and human rights.
This isn't just about a local crackdown, it's about the pervasive pattern of governments prioritizing image and self-preservation over genuine accountability. The moment a state actively obstructs reporting on crime, especially organized crime, it sends a clear signal of complicity, or at best, utter dysfunction.
The financial ramifications are staggering. These scam centers, often run with tacit official approval, siphon billions from the global economy. This illicit wealth then contaminates legitimate financial systems, posing an immense challenge to anti-money laundering efforts worldwide.
And the human cost is immeasurable. The trafficking and exploitation of individuals forced into cyber-slavery represent a horrifying modern-day atrocity. When journalists are silenced, the stories of these victims remain untold, and the perpetrators continue to operate with impunity.
The pattern is clear. Where there is a lack of press freedom and independent oversight, there is fertile ground for corruption to take root and for criminal enterprises to thrive, often with the complicity of those in power. This directly undermines trust in institutions and global financial integrity.
We must recognize that the fight against transnational organized crime cannot succeed if governments are not transparent, if journalists are not protected, and if the truth is not allowed to surface. The detention of one reporter is a warning shot to us all.
The battle for transparency, for accountability, and for the truth is ongoing. Tonight's report from Cambodia serves as a stark reminder of what happens when that battle is lost, when the powerful dictate what can and cannot be seen.
We urge you to scrutinize official narratives, to question the unspoken, and to support independent journalism that dares to expose these inconvenient truths. Without a free press, the darkness deepens, and the perpetrators of financial crime and human suffering win.
Thank you for joining us on Truth Report. We'll continue to follow this story and others like it, bringing you the facts, no matter how uncomfortable they may be.
Good night.